Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Morgan Renee tuning in for another story time with more of my. We are still in Trying to Sleep in the Bed You Made by Donna Grant and Virginia DeBerry. I'm ready to get through it, so let's just hop right into it. We're in chapter 21, and it starts off, Cat got your tongue? If I review one more set of budget figures, I'll die. Pat massaged her neck and reread the thank you note she got from Darlene. Pat hadn't found real butterflies and not exactly ballerinas, but she did take the little girl to a matinee of the Alvin Ailey Dance Company. Darlene was transfixed from the moment they arrived at Town Hall. It looks like a castle, she said. When the curtain opened, she all but exploded. They black, she exclaimed in as quiet a whisper as she could manage. From then on, her eyes were glued to the stage. Afterward, over burgers and fries, Darlene read her playbill aloud, and when Pat dropped her off, she got a kiss and a bear hug. This is the best day of my life, she gushed. At lunch, Pat stopped at a pharmacy and picked out a basket full of barrettes, headbands, shampoo, conditioner, hairdressing, and a tortoiseshell comb and brush to send her. Pat waited in line and remembered how warm that hug made her feel. She keeps the program under her pillow, hoping she'll dream about the dancers. Darlene had been through a lot, but she still had a wide swatch of curiosity and wonder. Pat had a hard time imagining herself ever so open and sweet, but Darlene reminded her she must have been once. When she got back to the office, she lit a cigarette and went back to number crunching. There was a meeting on the horizon, more doom, conflict, and circling the wagons. They all knew it was coming, but Gravett and Green had not been able to bring themselves to seriously discuss what the agency would do, not do, excuse me. Gravett Green had not been able to bring themselves to seriously discuss what the agency would do, not if, but when their friend of 30 years and the agency star innovator died. So when in Comstock, the man most responsible for the agency's signature, quick, quirky style, finally lost his battle with AIDS, no one was prepared. The Monday after his memorial service, the senior executives woke up to the fact that there was no one in the wings with the combination of talent, flair, fire, and good advertising instincts to take over. Giles's relentless crusade garnered him the job, but it was apparent he had lots of growing to do and no grace period to do it in. And CGG was leaking juicy status accounts. Pat felt it personally when the Detroit automaker left, taking the adventurer and his four-wheel siblings to a rival shop. That was front page ad news, and speculation about CGG as a takeover target started again. Each morning, Pat dragged into the office looking for her crisis of the day memo, but in her position, she felt like a bench warmer, on the team, but unable to score. She longed to be in the production mix again, pasting images together and making deadlines by a nose hair. Pat had I don't know how to say this, tete-a-tete with Zabriskie, told him her talent was being wasted. Sit tight, you're doing a great job. We won't lose sight of that, Zabriskie said. Pat yawned, reached for her cigarette. The tip had gone cold, and the inch-long ash dripped into the ashtray. She crushed it, traced it around the other discarded butts. Damn, have I smoked that many already? Her long ski weekend in Vermont with Reggie was supposed to be a pick-me-up, but she came back early and alone because by Sunday he had danced on her last nerve. Saturday had dawned gray and bitter cold, but Pat made a go of it on the slopes. By the end of the day, her fingers felt like swollen sausages ready to explode. Her cheeks were so icy they burned, and she had no sensation at all below the ankles. Sunday started the same way, so when Reggie pulled on his silk thermals, Pat opted out in favor of a jacuzzi in the fireplace. Reggie wouldn't leave it alone. He cajoled her about how invigorated she'd feel and the fun they have getting warm again. Then he got petty. If I knew you were going to be like this, I'd have come with somebody else. Keep that in mind for future reference. Pat closed herself in the bathroom and ran a tub to head off the argument, and Reggie slammed out of the chalet. Snow and sleep brought him in before noon, aggravated and determined to pick a fight. He had snide remarks about CGG's slipping position. He noted the weight Pat had put on. Unless you're planning to hibernate, you should get rid of it, he had said, pinching more than an inch. But the very final straw came when he brought up Marcus. Pat had left Newsweek, turned to an article about the pleasures and dangers of riding a motorcycle. Marcus was pictured, and a section of the piece described his injuries and rehab. Reggie picked up the magazine and went off. Damn, overpaid jock better hope they can piece him together. What's he got, a high school diploma? At least he can read fan mail and sign checks. Without brawn, he's selling sneakers instead of wearing them for a living. And what are stockbrokers but overpaid sales help? Answer me that, Reggie. Pat was enraged. You could be selling sneakers, or french fries for that matter. How dare you assume that because Marcus Carter is an athlete, he's some kind of imbecile? She read Reggie about how pompous and intolerant he was, things she always knew but ignored. Suddenly, he struck her as mean, shallow, and she couldn't stand him for one more minute. Pat emptied her ashtray in the trash. The episode with Reggie meant she was without an escort for the reception next week at the Studio Museum. It would honor Turner Hughes for a large donation to the Harlem Institution and announce a match grant fundraising drive he would underwrite, equaling all contributions to the museum made in February, Black History Month. As soon as she got word of the event, Pat bought tickets, figuring she'd have a shot at avoiding PJ and talking to Turner in the museum's intimate galleries. She had to make something happen with her father soon, or it never would. Pat doodled in the margins of a memo. I could go alone. I don't need moral support from Reggie or any damn body else. Or I could ask Marcus. Marcus had kept in touch since the accident. After he left the hospital, he went to North Carolina to check on his parents and ended up staying for a few months. He phoned Pat once a week or so just to talk. They're getting to me. One's near crazy, the other's blind to it. I'm going to be in the road howling at cats if I don't get out of here soon. Pat knew he only meant it halfway, but she worried about the other half. 3 days a week, Marcus worked with a physical therapist in Raleigh and trained every day on his own, but he was impatient with his progress. Feels like they put some rusty screws from a jar in the basement in my knee. My arm is ugly as sin. It's coming along, but it still doesn't feel like my arm. He planned to make spring training. Often Pat teased him. You can quit, marry Tia, and become Mr. Supermodel. You out of your mind too? Must be your damn smoke sticks. Don't get me wrong. Tia good people, but hanging with her for too long is like trying to live on air alone. After a while, I need something substantial. Pat was happy to have Marcus back in her life, just like a brother. So what's the big deal about asking him to this thing? She knew he'd be in town, seeing his doctor, and if she was going to ask, it had to be now. So she stubbed out her unlit cigarette, made the call, and felt giddy in a way she chose not to dwell on when Marcus said he'd be happy to go. Does this dress look okay? I should have worn a black one. It makes me look slimmer. I should be slimmer. Pat smoothed the tulip skirt of a red crepe wrapped dress. The shawl collar curved down to her waist where it fastened with 2 rhinestone buttons. Whoa, if I didn't say it before, you look beautiful, Miss Reed. Marcus leaned closer to her ear. You have nothing to worry about in the looks department. Not the way I see it. He took her hand, gave it a squeeze. Let's go get cultured. Pat followed him into the Studio Museum's main gallery. She'd been one pulsing nerve in it all day, worried that she wouldn't find a way to talk with Turner. After she dressed for the evening, she dug out the bergamot tin and put his monogrammed cufflink in her purse for luck. The warmth of Marcus's hand steadied her, but it sent a charge up her arm that was anything but brotherly. Get a grip. A swirling African rhythm supported the murmur of conversations. Pat surveyed the crowd downstairs quickly. Marcus led her toward the music, but Pat tapped his shoulder. Let's take a swing upstairs first. Are you looking for someone in particular? No. Yes. It's complicated. Old flame, arch enemy, spy. Yeah, Special Agent Reed. It suits you. So are we going to be drugged and kidnapped until you tell the secrets? Nothing so intriguing except in a way it is. I'm not making sense. I'll tell you later. I'll hold you to it. He winked and walked toward the stairs. Several people acknowledged him, shook hands, including the director, who said she was glad to see him on the mend and hoped he was impressed enough with the museum to become a patron. Marcus seemed at ease. He still favored his right leg, Marcus seemed at ease. He still favored his right leg, but he looked amazing. He was sharp in a collarless shirt and trousers in jet black, topped with a black and cream houndstooth jacket, not at all like a man who almost bought it on a back road a few months ago. They did a spin around the balcony. No PJ, no Turner. I warn you, I don't know one word about art, Marcus said. But as they examined paintings and sculptures, Pat was impressed with his observations, and when they were done with the artwork on the walls, they took a post at the balcony railing and engaged in people watching, where Marcus really excelled. He pointed to a couple standing in front of a massive canvas. See, they're not a regular thing. This is a test date, and the brother is not making headway. He's leaning in, trying to rap, but the sister keeps staring at that painting like the secret of life is on it. Now, my man is kind of good looking, so she figured tonight had potential, but she won't even look in his direction, which tells me Yeah, what's coming out of his mouth is not what she had in mind. Damn, she just took 2 steps away from him. Either he's got stinky breath or that man can't buy a line. I say he's going to be doing a lot of talking to her answering machine in the future. When Marcus stopped speaking, Pat realized she'd been staring at his lips, and she hurriedly looked down into the crowd, just in time to catch Turner's entrance. The museum director hugged him warmly, and they huddled in conversation, the nucleus of a small circle who followed their conversation like a tennis match, heads swiveling from one to the other. Now, there's a man who Jesse Jackson did not have to convince he was somebody. Marcus looked at Pat and saw her eyes riveted on the scene downstairs. Yeah, his mom and daddy made sure he knew his shit didn't stink. Marcus, Turner Hughes has a huge corporation. The vice president came to his barbecue. I was there. Is that right? Sounds to me like you're convinced his shit don't stink too. Marcus straightened up, folding his arms across his chest. What's the matter with you? He's one of the most influential men in the country, and he happens to be black. You should appreciate that. Obviously you do. As a matter of fact, you're right. He's not just rich. He supports lots of causes like this museum, which is why he's here, in case you forgot. Did you write the press release or just memorize it? Pat sucked her teeth. I don't see you acting all humble when folks fall all over you. All right. Pat and Marcus listened to opening remarks in huffy silence. It caught Marcus by surprise when the director acknowledged him as one of the honored guests for the evening. He snapped on his public face and waved from the balcony amid enthusiastic applause. When the attention went back to Turner, Pat whispered to Marcus, I guess some of us are just more special than others. He rolled his eyes. When Turner stepped to the podium, he yanked down his shirt cuffs, and Pat saw the gold disc fastened at his wrist. Knowing she had one just like it in her bag gave her a charge. He spoke in a commanding voice, laced with a dignified Virginia accent. Pat ate up every word. Marcus can sulk if he wants. I don't know what's eating him about Turner Hughes. After the speeches, people streamed downstairs, and Pat caught sight of PJ mounting the steps against the tide. Up jumped the devil. He was heading toward Marcus, so Pat took a step to the side, faced the balcony, and dug in her purse so PJ wouldn't notice her. Marcus Carter, I'm PJ Jackson. I work with Mr. Hughes. He's a big fan, and he'd like to meet you. Pat didn't breathe, blink, or move a muscle. If Marcus goes down, then I can too. Delivered by humble sycophant PJ Jackson. She wasn't sure which made her happier. Sure. Pat, are you coming? She turned around. Absolutely. PJ pressed his lips together, swallowed hard, and looked like he had downed a mouthful of razor blades. When Marcus introduced them, Pat beamed, shook his hand like she never laid eyes on him before, and enjoyed watching PJ squirm. Turner eagerly admitted them to his circle, seeming happy to be rescued from seriously appropriate gallery chatter. Marcus Carter, glad to know you. He clamped a hand on Marcus's shoulder, and Pat was surprised to see her father's eyes widen with childlike wonder. When Turner greeted Pat, she searched his face for a glimmer of recognition. She remembered every second of their prior meetings, had lived on them for years, but although he was cordial, she knew it was the standard acknowledgement and that she'd be forgotten within seconds of leaving him if she didn't do something. She tucked herself slightly behind Marcus and listened, waiting for an opportunity to jump in. We're in a museum tonight. By the way this man strokes a ball, that's art too, Turner said. I played some tennis coming up in Richmond. Thought I was good till Arthur Ashe showed me different. Didn't stop me from dreaming about the Wimbledon trophy. But man, you have done it. Reached the highest rung, the World Series. That must make you feel, he gave a, you know what I mean, arch to his eyebrows, like a man. Marcus laughed along with the others. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't sweet. Pat would have given her eye teeth to hear Turner go on like that about her. You must let me know how to contact you. It would be my pleasure to have you to dinner. Do you have a card? No, I don't. Here, you can use this. Pat handed Marcus one of hers and a pen. While Marcus wrote, Pat said, I bet you were an aggressive serve and volley kind of tennis player, Mr. Hughes. Pat hadn't played in a while, but she could still talk a good game. Mr. Hughes was my father. Call me Turner. He gave Pat a more careful appraisal, and I've still been known to charge the net, given the right approach shot. I take it you play some tennis yourself, Patricia? She liked the way her name sounded when he said it. I know my way around the court. I'm a baseline player, patient until my opponent slips up. Then I make my move. You shouldn't tell me too much about your game. It gives me a strategic advantage. Both Marcus and PJ looked daggers at her, but she never noticed. And that sounds like a challenge to me, Turner. Marcus handed Hughes the card and shoved the pen back at Pat. Let me know if you like to get together over a bucket of balls. My number at the office is on the other side of that card. PJ can keep me from reaching Turner, but he can't stop Turner from picking up the phone. I'll look forward to it. He tucked the card in his breast pocket. They left the gallery shortly after talking with Turner. The car was at 96th Street before Marcus spoke. Why didn't you just open your legs and ask him if he wanted a sniff? Pardon me? Pat was aware of some frost blowing off Marcus, but she was too busy hoping Turner would call to check on the change in the weather. You got what you came for. You were plotting how to get him your phone number from the time you were hanging on the balcony telling me how important he is. And he'll get off because he got digits of a big jock's date right under his damn nose. Guys try that Ooh. Go, bud. Hold on, y'all. Oh, Lord. Go on now. I'm here trying to read to the people. You over here messing with me. Reckon he done went on. Yeah, these critters be all out. Be all out here. Big ass roach crawling on my a water bug, whatever you want to call it. That mug was huge. I see you. You stay over there. All right, back up. So Marcus don't know that this is her daddy, and she ain't really trying to get with this man. Okay. Let me back up. So. They left the gallery shortly after talking with Turner. Hold on. Let me get this damn bug out my vicinity. Go ahead now. Get the fuck. Now you on your back and shit. Alright, sorry. Stay over there. What's the matter with you? He's one of the most influential men. Wrong page. Why didn't you just open your legs and ask if he wanted a sniff? Pardon me? Pat was aware of some frost blowing off Marcus, but she was too busy hoping Turner would call to check on the change in the weather. You got what you came for. You were plotting how to get him your phone number from the time you were hanging off the balcony telling me how important he is. And he'll get off because he got the digits of some big jock's date right on his damn nose. Guys try that shit all the time, but most women have the decency to do it behind my back. Damn. It's not what you think. Pat hadn't planned to tell anybody. The situation was dicey enough without involving another person, but she couldn't let Marcus think what he was thinking. He's my father. He's your what? Pat showed Marcus the cufflink, told him her story over Sherry in her apartment. You expect him to open his arms wide and say, "Come to me, my child"? That shit happens in the movies. He wasn't looking at you like one of his damn kids tonight, neither. You read too much into things. Give me credit for being a man. He might like it if you call him daddy, but there ain't nothing fatherly in that man's mind. You don't understand. She kicked off her shoes, pulled her skirt to her ankles, and clutched her knees to her chest. Now that she said it aloud, she had to make Marcus see. She spent years working, sacrificing for the chance to make Turner proud, and now she was so close. I didn't believe Verna either, but I checked it out. You saw the cufflink. So does he have other kids? 2 from his first marriage. The one he dismissed you and your mother for? He didn't know me. He left Verna, and I can't blame him. You remember my so-called mother, the Scotch-willing bar hag who disowned me? Would you say I do to her? Do you know what she was like back then, before you? Excuse me for being blunt, but he said I do to something. And since you've been tracking a man for years, where are these kids? Have you seen them hanging with dear old dad? Huh? You got him up on some kind of pedestal, Pat, and you need to be sure he belongs there. That's all I'm saying. Marcus scooted over on the couch and drew her close. Pat sat still, feeling awkward, but somehow happy in the strong curve of his arm. I don't even know where she is, and right now I just want my father to be proud of me. That's not so strange. You want it too. That's different. I don't want his money. I don't need him to help me out. I just want my father to be proud of me. Wait a minute. I don't want his money. I don't need him to help me out. I just want him to see that I turned out all right, not like her. I hope it works out the way you want, but you should be proud of yourself no matter what, because he didn't make you who you are. You did. Finally, she leaned against his chest and relaxed into the steady beat of his heart. He needed her arm. After a few minutes, she looked up to ask if he wanted another drink, and she was so close to his lips the lips she couldn't keep her eyes away from earlier, but she could feel his breath, and she wanted to breathe it in, feel his mouth against hers. Then she shifted her gaze to his eyes, and the ripples started, just under her skin, just like it felt in the basement. Patricia, you're making a fool of yourself. But she couldn't deny the feeling. I have to stop this before we... She had to say something just to keep her lips moving. Thanks for coming with me, even though I made you mad. I'm not mad. Not now, anyway. You're too good a person to set yourself up to get hurt. I couldn't stand for that. His voice was an intimate whisper that pulled her closer. I won't get hurt. Pat moved to kiss his cheek, just as he turned toward her, and she caught the corner of his mouth. She knew if she just tilted her head, their lips would meet. So close, but then she pulled away. Like my brother. All right. He cleared the rasp from his voice. One day, I'm going to figure you out, woman. He kissed her forehead. To go. I got another long day with my physical therapist. My physical therapist tomorrow. I'll check you later. Pat watched him walk down the hall, wanting to ask him to stay, feeling she had no right. Marcus startled her when he turned around. Go slow with Turner. Just 'cause he's a blue chip don't mean he's Dudley Do-Right. Pat closed the door, touched the corner of her mouth where his lips had been. Damn, why didn't I kiss him? We're both grown now, and nobody's in the way. She paced the apartment, radiating enough static electricity to make her glow in the dark. In a single evening, she had one-up PJ, got her business card in her father's hands, and now Marcus had set her panties on fire. She wanted to call downstairs and have the doorman send him back, but she headed for a nightcap and the shower massage instead. Keep your legs crossed. You just haven't had any for a while. Don't risk a friendship. Did I tell you how much that red dress becomes you? My schedule finds me traveling for much of the next month, so our tennis match will have to wait. Oh, wait. Okay, so this is a phone call with, I guess, Turner talking to her. Did I tell you how much that red dress becomes you? My schedule finds me traveling for much of the next month, so our tennis match will have to wait. Care to join me for dinner? My secretary will call. Turner's name was signed in a hand Pat was certain was too flowery to be his. The card accompanied a graceful array of alabaster orchids in a ruby red porcelain pot. He remembers me, what I had on, what we talked about. 2 days later, Marcus phoned her at work. I got my reprieve from the glue factory. My doctor says I'm clear for spring training. So soon? Soon nothing. I've been working my ass off, and tonight I'm planning to celebrate with a big, juicy, medium rare side of beef. Care to join me? Where's Tia? Why do you keep asking me about her? I called you. You got a problem with that? No problem. Glad to hear it. I'll pick you up. Before I hit your office, I'll stop in and show those clowns who work on the Tasty commercials that I'm still big, black, and devilishly good looking, and tell them I'm back in the Dodgers uniform so they don't have to opt out my contract. How could they resist? She could hear his grin over the phone, see that dimple light up on his cheek. It makes perfect sense for us to have dinner. He has to stop by the agency anyway. When Pat returned to her office from a meeting, Marcus was waiting for her. She closed the door and turned around into his arms as a short, sweet hello kiss on her lips, like it was their usual greeting. For a moment, she was stunned. What the hell is this? I almost got carried away last time, but Cat got your tongue? He smiled down at her. No, Pat felt the fringes of her brain start to sizzle. Not yet. She peered up into his face. The heat from his hands warmed her back, but he slipped out before she could stop herself. Oh, not yet, but he could. They were in it, clinging together like neither of them ever needed anything so much. When their lips parted, Pat had tears in the corners of her eyes. She tucked her jacket down, cleared her throat, and sidestepped to her desk, like she walked that way all the time. Make yourself at home, Titanium Man. She removed her purse from the bottom drawer. I'm going to freshen up. She could be flipped with her desk safely between them. That happened because I wanted it to. Marcus looked directly at her. And before you reasoned it to death, this wasn't just something I do because I'm a man and I gotta have it. I meant that kiss especially for you. Marcus, I've had plenty of time since my accident. I spent a lot of it thinking about you. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Pat slipped the strap of her handbag over her shoulder. I can't stay back here forever. Tentatively, she eased from behind her desk. Listen, Pat, when I saw you the other night, well, everything kind of crystallized in my mind about how special you are, and that I want to know you, not just as a friend. Pat walked toward the door. Did it show? Was I that obvious? Marcus, and this time, no guilt, no second thoughts. He stood in her path. She looked at her shoes, his knees, his face. She bit down on the inside of her cheek, hoping the sharp sensation would ground her. It didn't. Okay, Marcus, speak up. You still know how. I have to. I'll be right back. She felt like an idiot, and she couldn't find any other words. Marcus stepped aside with a gallant sweep of his arm. I'll be waiting. Pat stumbled to the ladies' room, tried to put on lipstick, but her hands trembled. No kiss had shaken her so since that one they shared when they were kids, and she was unprepared for the dangerous depth of it, or to deal with feeling so strong. For Marcus, she steadied herself against the sink and forced some air in her lungs. Marcus had just thrown her a long ball from left field, and she didn't know whether to catch it or let it drop. She had to slow her pulse and make room for some perspective, so she adjusted pantyhose, combed bed, powdered, blushed, and lipstick until she was calmer. I asked him about his stop in the art department. That's safe. Marcus was seated at her desk when she got back. How'd it go at Creative? That sounds casual. I don't know what happened or what did happen. Before, we were all buddies. Now I feel like Frosty the Snowman up in there. Definitely chilly. Pat sensed his distress and wanted to reach out to him. But maybe this is a retreat. She found herself stranded somewhere between relief might just be busy. It's a deadline a minute up there. Don't take it personal. Good, Pat, good. That's the only way I know how to take it. He got up. I know they think I'm history, but when I start blasting them balls back into orbit, we'll see who's washed up. You need fuel for that. She started to squeeze his arm, but thought better of it. Let's go find that cow you were hankering for. In the elevator, Pat searched her purse for phantom keys, hoping to dodge the question of hand-holding or the possibility of feeling hurt if he didn't try. Outside, he hailed a cab, took her hand as he helped her inside, and their fingers remained intertwined all the way to the restaurant. To Pat, it felt too right to be real. Marcus was a regular at the steakhouse, and they fussed over him like the prodigal had come home. Small talk was as foreign as Sanskrit to Pat tonight, and she strained to pay attention while he laid out his spring training itinerary. She made a great show of sliding her Caesar salad around the plate, but her body, poised on the edge of a meltdown, threatened to override her brain. I'm flying out tomorrow to let my folks see me before I head to camp. What's the name of that town where you were born? Swan City. Why? What is he talking about that for? It was near the ocean, right? It's got to be close to my parents' place. I was thinking you might like to visit there sometime. I haven't been back there since I left. Pat played at eating her porterhouse. Then it's time. I think time has run out. I don't know a soul, and there's nothing I need to see. Why on earth would I want to go to Swan City? Sometimes you don't know what you need till you're looking at it. What is that supposed to mean? She turned down dessert and wondered what would happen when Marcus took her home. But as soon as she unlocked her door, there was no need to wonder anymore. They were in each other's arms, pressed in an embrace that felt like home. After several minutes, Marcus came up for air. Ha! He unbuttoned her coat, removed it, and hung it on the closet door, followed by his own. Then he scooped her up and into her arms. Stop! You'll hurt yourself, Pat laughed and pretended to beat on his chest. I doubt that. I can press 2 or 3 of you. You are only a tiny morsel. They laughed as he swooped her into the living room, backing up in her direction so she could turn on the light. He came in for a smooth landing on the couch where he pulled her on top of him. Now, where were we? Here. Pat nibbled his bottom lip, and they were at it again, full force. This is crazy. But stopping was out of the question. He caressed her body through the silk of her dress, and it was like she'd been waiting for his touch. Pat fingered his chest, hard beneath his cashmere. Oh, my phone had to reconnect. My phone might die. Like 4 pages left. We'll see. Or it might overheat. Let's get through it. Pat fingered his chest, hard beneath his cashmere turtleneck, and she wanted skin against her palm. He kissed her slowly, deeply, and she wanted him to swallow her whole. Wait. Spontaneous passion had gone the way of love beads, and she knew they couldn't continue like this. I need to get ready. Pat kissed his fingers and led him to her bedroom, then doubled back to the bathroom. In minutes, scented with jasmine and ginger and wrapped in a slinky leopard print robe, condom in her pocket, she joined him. Still dressed, Marcus lay across her bed, propped on his side, fingering the delicate petals of an orchid. They're from my Turner Hughes, and Marcus' face turned to stone. You still think it don't mean nothing? He sat up. I'm sure they're like dandelions to him. She knelt on the bed, awkward and unsure. Yeah, he sends them to ladies he intends to explore at a later date. It's nothing new. I've done it myself. Pat didn't answer. You ought to tell him what's on your mind. I will, when I'm ready. She didn't want to discuss Turner right now. I want him to get to know me as a person. You're setting yourself up for something freaky. What's that supposed to mean? She snapped, her clarity returning. I don't need x-ray vision to see what's happening here. I've known you since I was 8, and you ain't never been blind or stupid. It's too late to start acting like that now. She stood, arms akimbo. And I have gone through the better part of my life minding my business. I don't all of a sudden need you to mind it for me. Do what you want to do. I intend to. They faced off. The fire of desire turned to anger. All of a sudden, I'm feeling tired. Pat turned her back. Really tired. Funny how that happens. Marcus slid to the edge of the bed, slipped on his loafers. I need to pack, settle a few things before I leave. Pat didn't move for fear a disappointed tear might fall from her eye. Good night. She sat in the middle of her bed and listened for the door to close. Damn him. She punched the pillow, then hugged it to her chest. She felt like she'd been tricked into fessing up the feelings she'd been tiptoeing around for years. I don't have time for this. So when he called the next day, she spoke in a monotone, said she'd be in touch, wished him luck. I know you think you can handle Hughes, but be careful. He's nothing to play with. Whatever. Pat hung up, thinking she'd put her feelings very neatly back in their box, but she smoked half a pack of cigarettes before she could speak to another person. 2 weeks later, Pat was summoned to dinner at Turner's office in an elegant Art Deco high-rise. In her leather folio, she carried the A-Hup proposal that PJ had deep-sixed, and she wore a red Bolche suit since he thought she looked nice in red. Riding up to the 44th floor, she realized she hadn't been so nervous in years. Not for job interviews, client presentations, or dates, because tonight she felt there was so much more on the line. Mr. Hughes is waiting for you. His secretary was dressed and jeweled more expensively than a lot of executive women Pat knew. Miss Turner in shirt sleeves felt propped on a massive cherry desk. Turner in shirt sleeves, feet propped on a massive cherry desk, peered through half glasses at a binder of papers. The numbers warrant my participation. He spoke into a microphone. But at this time, I can't risk future political fallout or the appearance of impropriety. Patricia, finally. He tossed the papers and his glasses on the desk and got up to greet her. Just in time to rescue me from this tiresome nonsense. He strode across the wide room and shook both of Pat's hands. I have been boring even to myself. I doubt you're ever boring. It's good to see you, Turner. The hello sounded more like a come on than she intended. Watch it. Turner showed her to a sleek sofa at the far end of the room, then opened the door in the wall unit to reveal a bar. You look like you can handle a drink. What do you take? Vodka and tonic. She perched on the edge of the couch, her folio at her feet. I took you for a scotch drinker. Vodka's transparent and watery, got no character. I have plenty of character regardless of what's in my glass. I presumed as much. He laughed and handed her a frosty, monogrammed glass. To women with spirit. Pat raised her glass. I don't want to play this. You know, I actually met you twice before the museum at your lovely summer home, and I let you slip away? Damn, I'm getting too old or too busy. Probably both. You had a house full of guests, including the vice president. That's no excuse. I pride myself on being able to walk and chew gum. Turner dimmed the lights and sat in the leather armchair across from her. Well, you did give me your card. His direct gaze felt hypnotic, so she let her eyes move around the room to avoid it. And you didn't call. I'm disappointed in you, Patricia. Pat didn't like hearing those words, even if he wasn't serious. Actually, I sent you a proposal about a hand up. I didn't get a response, so I assumed you weren't interested. Believe me, I'd have answered whether I was interested in your business proposition or not. Turner adjusted his crease, crossed his legs, took a swallow of his drink. I'll have to monitor my mail more carefully. I brought a copy with me. Slow down. We have dinner and a whole evening ahead of us. And the nice thing about this joint is it doesn't close until I say so. Now tell me about Patricia Reed. Tell him what's on your mind. She could hear Marcus say it. Not yet. Pat skated by with her after-college credentials, preferring to save her history for another time. She's stupid. She should just tell this man. She didn't want to tell the orphan lie since she planned to set the record straight. I hope you're not one of those joyless, ball-breaking career women. Turn away to his empty glass. Refill? I'm still working on this one. And yes, I've broken a few to get where I am, but they always had it coming. And I bet you're something to see when you're fired up. Turner tried to lock in his sights again. Pat went to the wall exit and examined the photos and mementos displayed there to diffuse the force field. Seems I've heard you're from Virginia originally. He got up, rattled around the ice bucket, and poured another drink. son of Richmond, firstborn of Turner and Rebecca Hughes, raised by Rebecca and her mother Elise. Folks call them battle axe and baby axe when they weren't around to hear it because they were two of the evilest women walking the planet. They probably had to be tough to keep you in line. I was a handful. I won't bother to deny it, but they had meanness to spare. He took a swallow of scotch as if to rinse a bad taste from his mouth. Anyway, that's old BS. He sat on the couch next to where Pat had been before. Light tapping at the door was followed by the entrance of a waiter with a rolling cart who went unobtrusively to work lane 2 place settings on the table near a window that looked south onto the city. Pat and Turner made social chatter until the waiter served the broccoli bisque and disappeared. It seems I've heard you had your eye on a cabinet post. Pat hit pay dirt. Turner discussed his political aspirations through the salad and into the veal chops. Money is no longer the challenge. Once I passed a certain point, making more was inevitable. You have to be the unluckiest son of a bitch in the world or just plain stupid to truly lose a fortune. What's more interesting is power, influence, control. He said it like an incantation. The cabinet is an elite club. How do you get appointed? Pat was truly fascinated. Turner sounded convinced his dream was attainable. I'm sure there's a rule book somewhere, but it wasn't written for a mother's son like me in the first damn place. I've gotten enough education from the appropriate schools to be in the game. I write big checks at campaign fundraisers, so the party boys know I'm serious, and so they feel they at least owe me a chance to say my piece. Then I tell them what I want in no uncertain terms. I keep my name on as many lists as I can arrange, know twice as much as the next 10 people, give away free advice when asked, show I can make things happen, and keep my nose clean. Sooner or later, the president or some flunky with his ear will want to show me how fair and forward-thinking they are by appointing a black man to every visible post. And I can't think of one good reason for it not to be me. I'm impressed. I'm impressive, especially when you get to know me. Get back on track. I imagine a hand up earns you a few integrity points, at least lip service, especially since government social programs are going to be extinct as the dodo bird. That's where my proposal comes in. I want to offer my expertise in some of Comstock Gravitt Green's resources to produce some public service announcement that should raise awareness of the program and what it offers. Comstock Gravitt Green. He wipes his mouth, tosses his napkin across his plate. I believe an acquaintance of mine worked there. Althea Satterfield, do you know of? She's no longer with the agency. Pat had wondered when that would come up, an acquaintance. At least he's diplomatic. So tell me about these ads you have in mind. He never missed a beat. Pat launched into the speech she'd been rehearsing for what seemed like forever, careful to keep it breezy, a no skin off my nose proposition. Why are you making me this offer? There are lots of foundations that would do handstands for an offer like this. I'm impressed with the AHUB concept and implementation, and there aren't many foundations run and funded by somebody black. I like the package. And what is it you want out of this? He clasped his hands behind his head. Pat saw the monogram disc at his shirt cuff. Tell him what's on your mind. To spend somebody's surplus funds and do a little good for people who need it. Are you always so noble? No, but now and then it's good for the soul. Amen. He leaned forward and reached across the table where Pat's hand rested. She moved it just before he made contact and got up. I'll get you my proposal. It's preliminary, so your input will be helpful. She headed for her folio. You should keep still sometimes. I make it a practice never to be a sitting duck. She handed him the spiral-bound proposal, but remained standing, admiring the skyline. Do you move around this much when you're with Marcus Carter? More. Mind if I smoke? Did he really want to check me out just because I was with Marcus? The waiter came in with coffee, and when she looked at Turner, Pat saw he had that relaxed after-dinner glow, and she knew she had to make an exit before he got to the brandy. Should I phone next week to see where you want to go with this? Turner chuckled. I need more people like you working for me, Patricia. I'll read it tonight in bed, unless you could think of something else I could be doing there. Nothing more beneficial than keeping the Hughes name on the people's lips. Well put. If I'm buying what you're selling, I'll pass it on to P.J. Jackson, my assistant. He's a day-to-day liaison with the AHUB board, so why don't you give him a call tomorrow? He handed her a card. My secretary can put you through. Excuse me. Damn. All roads to Turner ran through P.J. eventually. Sure. She checked her watch. And I should be leaving. You don't give a man much of a chance to get to know you. On the contrary, I hope you get to know me very well. She knew immediately it didn't sound the way she meant it. Tell him what's on your mind. Then you have to give me time to find out who you really are when you're not helping your fellow man. Turner offered to call her a car, but Pat declined. All she wanted was to get outside. He waited with her until the elevator came. Pat extended her hand. Thank you for a lovely evening. Turner held it so tightly she almost had to pull it away. You are certainly challenging, Patricia. I like a challenge. I'll be in touch. When the doors closed, Pat leaned against the elevator wall. He likes a challenge. The joy she expected was floundering in a sea of uneasiness. What the hell am I going to do? You won't leave it alone, will you? PJ's call burned through the phone lines the next day. I assume you're calling about Turner Hughes likes my proposal, so let's get this straight. I don't give a shit whether this makes you uncomfortable, and I'm no longer interested in telling the world what a lying snake you were to me. You're Edwina's problem, and unless your spots have changed, you're lying to her now, but that's not my headache. Pat twisted the phone cord around her fist. Don't fuck with me on this, PJ, because it's not about you. If you've got problems with the proposal, I'll work on it, but keep your bullshit to yourself. She heard him panting like he was about to bust a gusset. When he composed himself, he told her it was a go. He'd arranged for her to meet at the A-Hub board. Pat hung up and immediately doused a brewski. Over the years, she had collected enough IOUs to put the spots together for close to nothing. Just thinking about the project gave her the old back-in-the-trenches charge. She needed Zabriski's official blessing and clearance to start the ball rolling on getting the airtime to play the finished ads. It's finally happened, and all she wanted to do was call Marcus and gloat. All right, that's the end of that. Chapter 22 is up next. Thank you for tuning in. If you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, it is my name, Morgan Myers, Myers. It'll be a red logo with a yellow M inside, which is for my brand, More of My, because you're going to want More of My, education, entertainment, and all that jazz. So we're finishing up this book. I'm also reading another book right now called The Medical Apartheid by Harriet A. Washington. So you can go there and check it out, catch up on all the prior reads that I did as well. So far, all books have been by Black authors. I'll begin to expand my catalog soon, but for now, I'm highlighting Black authors. So again, thank y'all for tuning in. I'll check in with y'all again soon. Peace.